How ridiculous does the church look right now? And I don't mean in the eyes of people who don't believe. I mean in the eyes of people who are curious about Christ, or people who are Protestants but thinking about becoming Catholic, which there are a great number of these days. Seems that online apologetics are bearing great fruit and reaping great rewards for the church in the terms of souls coming home. But I mean, in general, how ridiculous does the human element of the church, the men running the institutions, especially in Rome and in your various dioceses, look when the church as an institution is focused on worldly things, political issues. We have expounded on this greatly in the last couple of years. The quick version for those of you who are new. In Germany, you have the German bishops, and in neighboring Austria, the Austrian bishops too, greatly focused on the outcome of political elections in their country. Why? Well, before recent elections, where the first marginally conservative government in recent German history was elected and nearly got a slightly more than marginally conservative government instead, they had been focused on, of all things, trying to get people to continue supporting the social democracy parties in Germany because they were afraid of conservative ideas. Compared to American conservatives, which aren't all that conservative themselves, the German conservatives, the very hard right-wing ones they were so scared of, weren't actually all that conservative either. That's how far off the deep end the German church has gotten. They were telling their faithful Catholics not to support the evil party that might actually be marginally conservative, if you can believe it. Made them look ridiculous. We saw this all across the West. We saw this in the United States. Catholics voted for Trump. On balance, there were plenty who did not, but on balance, they did. And what was the consequence? The bishops were all worked up in a lather over this. It's been hard to find the U.S. bishops united on anything until after that election, when their money got threatened. We're not talking about migration today. That topic has been done ad nauseum. We're done with that for now, at least till the next shoe drops on it. No. A classic overreach of the bishops has come back in vogue, and people are pointing out how ridiculous the bishops look. There's kind of a sea change happening. It's a lack of trust in institutions broadly. It's why you see suddenly progressive politics becoming very unpopular across the West, and variously conservative politicians becoming very popular. It's why you see the Catholic Church actually growing in membership, because compared to other Christian groups out there, the Catholic Church is pretty conservative still. But also within the church, you see the laity are losing complete trust in their bishops because the bishops say ridiculous things and do ridiculous things. And this is not isolated to the United States by any stretch of the imagination. Go to cath.net for this story. Headline, Alexander Kissler. Churches are making themselves ridiculous with environmental thermometer fasting. Got to be careful how you talk about certain issues on this platform. People who've been around a while know what I'm talking about. But there are churches in Germany and in Austria and other places where the bishops are telling people to fast for the Laudato Si topic, to fast so as to help the Pachamama, the Mother Earth, be healthier and all the rest of it. It looks ridiculous. There are people who see this stuff and say, I was thinking about becoming Catholic, but if that's what the bishops, not just one isolated bishop here or there, but that's what a lot of the bishops are like, then why would I bother? Because that's not the gospel. And they would be right to a degree. They should, of course, bother. They should come into the church. Their soul's eternal destiny rides on that question. But they would be right. That's not the gospel. In Rome, the Catholic Church has been run for decades by people who increasingly conflate the gospel with creating a better world for addressing social issues. To be sure, the church has a role in talking about hot button issues of the day, regardless of what they are, applying gospel principles to addressing common problems, for addressing the issues of the common good, for laying down the principles on how to address the common good for lawmakers. The church has every right to do so. It is the mother and teacher of all nations, to borrow a phrase from a Vatican II document. But there comes a point where the church needs to step back and say, we're not touching this one because it's so ridiculous. And when the church gets involved in the more ridiculous ideas, all it does is tarnish the image of the church, cause people to not want to enter the church, and causes many to leave. Why do they leave? Because they erroneously believe there are Christian groups out there who haven't done this yet. And aside from some very small fringe Protestant groups, they would be wrong. Because the Eastern Orthodox get in on this stuff. Laudato Si has practically an entire chapter written by one of the highest profile Eastern patriarchs. Most American Protestant groups and European Protestant groups are co-travelers with the Vatican on this subject. But this writer from Germany, he understands the consequence. So we'll let him speak. Quote, in a video commentary on March 18th, journalist Alexander Kistler took aim at the, quote, Lenten Action for Creation, Protection, and Justice, which runs from Ash Wednesday, March 5th to Easter Sunday on April 20th. In the commentary published on his YouTube channel, Kistler Compact, he accuses the participating Catholic and Protestant associations and organizations, including several Catholic dioceses, of missing the true meaning of the pre-Easter Lent and instead falling into the Laudato Si protection activism. The church tax churches have a little use for Christian fasting. When they do get up the courage to do so, it becomes ridiculous. They're currently calling for fasting for creation. Welcome to nonsense, he says, concluding, Christian fasting. That was once a path of personal conversion to God. Today, it's supposed to be the path of the church tax towards activism for our common home. End quote. So in Germany, they've decided to use Lent to promote fasting. Wonderful. That's a great thing. You should be fasting during Lent if you are able to. But they were fasting for breaking your attachment to sin, for deepening your relationship with God, to shining a light on your lack of virtue, where your virtue is lacking in your life. None of the things that we typically think of. They were using it to fast, to raise awareness for the Laudato Si issue, care for our common home, as Pope Francis calls it, essentially for the Pachamama. That's what they were encouraging fasting for. The commentator there that they are quoting is 100% correct. They look ridiculous. They look absolutely ridiculous. Many bishops in many places around the world have become willing accomplices to this great masquerade foolishness that they're pushing on everybody. That's increasingly getting rejected, by the way. If you ever seen the research data on this, for a while, Americans, Europeans, everywhere else, were buying into it more and more. And then something happened probably about 5 years ago or so, when governments overreached incredibly, and all of a sudden, all their trust in everything that they make, all the demands they make, went out the window. I wonder how that happened. And yet the bishops continue to ally themselves with it. And it's not because they're lying. They are true believers. They believe, the modernists believe, that they have a God-given mission, sent by God, given by God himself, for them to free the church of its rigidity, to make the church more accessible to the world, to align itself with the world's values, and for the church to work at the forefront of making a better world. They have such trust in the enlightenment of the secular authorities that they believe all their claims. Having studied this issue firsthand, they might want to rethink that. It's nonsense. The entire issue. It's nonsense on stilts. I'm curious, though, what do you think? Are you surprised by this? Do you agree with the commentator that they're quoting there, that the bishops in this story look ridiculous and they make the church look ridiculous? Do you believe, like I do, that it's this issue and a whole host of others that the church comes down on that forces people to consider something else other than Catholicism? That they drive souls either out of the church or away from the church who might otherwise want to have the closest relationship with Christ possible through the sacraments and through devotional life and all the rest of the things the Catholic Church offers as the only way to salvation. Do you believe, like I do, that these bishops are costing souls because of their absurd political activism? Let me know what you think about this in the comments, please. Hey, like and subscribe if you haven't. It certainly helps. So to sharing this on social media, that helps too. And if you've ever thought about supporting the work of Return to Tradition here on YouTube, there are plenty of options in the description box below, every single one of them asked for by viewers like you. It does help keep these daily messages coming. And as always, pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.